Wow, we have major news in the housing industry, really in the economy. The Fed Chairman Jerome Powell is considering resigning according to some reports. We know that Trump wants to replace Jerome Powell, but he can't until May of 2026. He wants to put somebody in place that's going to be talking more favorable about the Fed rate, and he wants those Fed rate cuts to come fast and big, which would cause inflation potentially to spike. He wants that there. Now, if Jerome Powell resigns, we see that Trump says Powell should resign immediately from the Federal Reserve leadership position over economic missteps. We know there's been a major beef between the two, Jerome Powell and Trump, because Jerome Powell is not advocating for Fed rate cuts and is talking that the tariffs are delaying those cuts because they're worried about inflation. Now, if he gets replaced, right here, I showed this article in the past, Trump considers naming the next Fed chairman early in bid to undermine Powell, because if he puts this Hassett or Besnet guy among the consideration, what they're able to do is tell the market we're going to do Fed rate cuts and we're going to do more of them. That would be more favorable. Now, I want to show you guys something here before I get into more details on that, of how that's actually affected. Treasury yields rise as Trump just slapped a 35% tariff on Canada. And he just increased the tariffs, the deadline August 1st on the EU, on Mexico again, and South Korea and Japan. They're all getting tariffs of about 30%. And now we see that the 10-year actually went up. So you see right here, it's going up, and that is what's translating into what's going on with the 30-year mortgage. So we were seeing this dip. However, these tariffs and all this talk here that's going on has caused a U-turn. Now, if Jerome Powell does resign, as he is considering according to these reports, Trump is able to put somebody in place who is going to be more favorable. Now, how is that going to impact things? For example, here in Utah, look at our inventory. This is the active listings year over year. Right there, there's a, oh, here it is. Active listings year over year. We see that purple blue line up at the top, a lot more inventory. And the under contracts are coming down. That is holding true to the data. So we're seeing that those under contracts are going to start coming down. Now, interest rates dropping, let's say, to 6% or 5.5% would bring people out the woodworks. But before I even get to that, only, remember, 14% of respondents in this Fannie Mae survey said that it was a good time to buy a home. And it climbed for people saying that it was a bad time to buy a home up to 86% from 83%. And we know this is according to Fannie Mae. This is the worst, the lowest rate ever, and they've been keeping track since 2010. A lot unfolding. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. I got a lot more to unpack here for you, but also make sure that you sign up with the link down below to this email that I send out once a month, and it's going to have a breakdown of the inventory year over year, as well as in the marketplace that you're looking at, the different counties. Are you looking in the Greater Salt Lake area, the Park City area, the St. George area, the Logan area? It's going to have breakdowns of the entire Utah housing marketplace. So sign up. That link is down below, right there. You're going to get all of this information in there. Now, don't forget to smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. It'll help you stay up to date with the Utah housing market, the economy, of what's going on. It'll help me get this video in front of more people, because more people need this information. Nobody else is giving it to them. Now, back to some more data, some more stuff that's going on. Check this out. This is the big news. How does the Fed actually decide on cutting the rate? Is it just the chairman, Jerome Powell? No, it's not. So right here, the Federal Market Committee, the FOMC, has 12 voting members. These include 7 members of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System and the President of the Federal Reserve, which would be Jerome Powell right now. So that's one person that Trump would essentially be able to replace. Also, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, or the President Reserve Bank of New York, who are the permanent voting members. Then additionally, 4 of the remaining 11 Federal Reserve Bank presidents serve one-year term as voting members on rotating basis, while only 5 Reserve Bank presidents vote at any given meeting. all 11 Federal Reserve Bank presidents attend and participate in the FOMC discussions and deliberations. So right there, we see that even if Jerome Powell resigns or he is replaced by Trump, and Trump is actually who put Jerome Powell in place his first term in presidency, if he does get replaced, well, there's still a voting committee out there. So that does not mean that they're going to just slash the Fed rate. And once they see that these Fed rates are actually not getting slashed according to the new chairman of the Fed, then all of a sudden we're going to see more U-turns, just like we've been seeing here on the 10-year and just like we've been seeing on the 30-year mortgage. Here it is right there doing the U-turn. Now we're seeing this inventory is much higher than it has been in years past. And we're seeing the under contracts are following the data of going down as the second half of the year comes. So let's say we have a little uptick, okay? Well, if we have a little uptick and a little bit more houses go under contract, we're still going to have more inventory than we've had in the past years. And we know once we get to this point right here in July and August, that's when prices start dropping in the second half. And right here, if you take a look at these under contracts, we see that this red line right here, that represents 2022. And right here in May is when the housing market in Utah peaked. Nationwide, it peaked in June. But you see that these under contracts have dropped significantly from their pandemic highs. This is where they were at in 2021 and the beginning of 2022. And right here, we saw 15% price drops in the second half of 2022. And we never recovered to these May peaks. And this year, we're seeing the resemblance of major growth of inventory year over year. I've shared text messages, I've shared articles. Builders are in panic mode. They're feeling just as bad as they did in December of 2022 and November of 2023. So essentially, the builders are having confidence levels as they do at the end of the year when the housing market is the worst during the holiday season. So how's it going to be when the school year starts and when the holiday season does come around, especially with this elevated inventory? So in my opinion, still the best time to enter the housing market is between July and September. September most likely is going to give you the much better deals and that inventory to choose from. If you're not looking to do a lot of work, you want a move-in ready home, September is still going to have a lot of homes like that to choose from. Now, if you want to do work to a house, you want just the best deal. You don't care if you have to paint or even if you have to do some remodels to the kitchen, to the bathroom, then you want to wait until September through November and enter the housing market in October, November. That's going to give you a lot of inventory to still choose from. You do see that inventory starts coming down here toward the end of the year and beginning of the next year. That's the trend. So depending on what you want to accomplish, everybody has different goals. If you want to wait until the foreclosures potentially come, that they keep delaying, both administrations, the Biden and the Trump administration, that could be sometime in 2026. And that is if they don't re-extend it, just like both of the president administrations have been doing. So until it actually happens, until it doesn't get extended, we can't really say that it's going to happen based on this deadline, September 30th, because every time that deadline approaches, both presidents, both administrations have been extending it. So we're not even going to talk about that until it actually happens. And right here, sign up. Don't forget, down below will be that link so you can sign up for this email. That way you're up to date. This next one's going to be sent out on Wednesday. So make sure you sign up. You still have a chance to get the July inventory count year over year and in the different marketplaces here in Utah. So make sure you sign up for that. When you do need a realtor, my contact information is down below in the description. And these videos are going to keep coming. A quick recap right here. Jerome Powell might step down. We know that Trump has been beefing with Jerome Powell. We know that he's wanting to even name the next chairman just so that they can say, hey, we're going to drop these interest rates so that they can affect this 10-year so that in correlation, this can start coming down to 6%, maybe 5%. And of course, until they start actually doing the cuts, there's only so much that new chairman can impact it, maybe by 0.5%. I mean, that would bring some people out the woodwork. To start buying some homes, but we see that there's a 12 member voting committee. We see that this inventory is elevated year over year, much higher than in years past. We see that the under contracts are coming down. We're seeing that most Americans do not think it's a good time to buy a home. We're seeing the 10-year now going up because there's tariff issues now again, and this is not helping interest rates. This is not helping anybody or anything. So that's the recap. These videos are going to keep coming. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, sign up for those emails, and until next time,